So in this video, we're going to be covering revision of the GCSE Chemistry Paper 1. Remember, if you are doing any of your independent revision, we are doing Pearson Edexcel, and it has to be the new papers, which is from 2018 onwards, where you'll be getting grades 1 to 9. So any books that you use, all you need to look for is Edexcel. So here are a few examples, all of which are Edexcel books. Okay, if you do have AQA or OCR, they're still good, but if you want it to be specific, make sure you look for Edexcel. So the first thing I'd like you to do, here are some keywords for you. You can screenshot or you can pause the video and see if you can try and find these words, all of which are keywords for your revision. So just going through these words, it says to pick any 5, but I'm going to quickly go through all of them. So the first word is cross, and what you need to know is that when you draw covalent bonds, you can use crosses to represent electrons. The next word is proton. You need to know that a proton has a positive charge and is found in the nucleus. The next word is dot. You just need to know that when you're drawing elements, you can use a dot to be your electrons. The next word is electron. All you need to know is that electrons have a negative charge and also they're very small. We normally say 1 over 2000, but if you want to be specific, it's 1 over 1838. Next one we're going to do is formula. All you need to know for the exam is when they're asking you to do a formula, they basically want you to put letters and numbers. So here's an example. This one is ammonia. So I've done the first 5 words, but if you want to, you can find out facts about any of those words. Next thing I'd like you to look at is these questions here. So it's a score out of 20. I'd like you to go through all of these questions. It tells you how many points you're looking for at the end. And I want you to use some really good websites to try and find the answers. So websites that I'd recommend are BBC Bitesize. So BBC Bitesize is definitely the best website for you to use. And remember, all the stuff we're doing is Edexcel. So try and be specific to Edexcel if you can. So answers. When I do my revision notes, I like to put them all on one piece of paper because I find it is easier. So if we quickly just go through these answers, the first one says, what do cross and dot mean in chemistry? Cross and dot, and I've got it up here for you. So remember, a cross or a dot is used to show electrons. If we go through the next one, write down the formula. So formula for ammonia and one function. So the formula for ammonia is here, NH3. Function is fertilizer. And you need to use a special word, which is yield, which means the amount of crop that you've got. The next question, number 3, write the equation. There's a special word here, harbor, and it also uses another word, symbols. So symbols in chemistry are either a positive or you can use an arrow. Now this is a special kind of arrow because it's called a reversible arrow, and it actually just means that the reaction is going in both directions. It's going to the left and to the right, but in the exam we have to say it's going forwards and it's going backwards. And for those of you that have never heard the word fertilizer before, that's going to come up in the next one because the Haber process is all about making fertilizers. All right, number 4. Ammonia reacts with nitric acid. Write a word equation. So ammonia reacts with nitric acid, and what's interesting about this is when you add ammonia to nitric, you actually change the spelling of ammonia to ammonium, and you change nitric to nitrate. So we'll need to do that in lesson in a bit more detail, but you need to know how words change when you add them together. So that was number 4. Moving on to number 5, write the formula for ammonium nitrate. You are expected to just remember this, but in the exam, they will give you a little bit of help. So ammonium nitrate, NH4NO3. Moving on to the next one, number 6. Why do farmers use ammonium nitrate? So answering the question why, the answer is just fertilizer. So a fertilizer is anything that is put on plants to increase something called the yield, and the yield is just the amount that you have. So yield is the amount of crop that you have. Moving on to number 7. What is the charge and mass of a proton, electron, neutron? So what we need to remember is P for proton, P for positive. So we have a proton here and it's positive charge. E for electrons, it's a bit like electricity. They're negative, which leaves neutrons, which are neutral. In terms of the mass, you just need to know that the protons and the neutrons are more or less the same, which is 1, and the electrons are very, very small. So you can just say 1 over 2,000, but if you want to be specific, 1 over 1838. All right, number 8. What is a mass number and atomic number? So you need to know the difference between these two. So a mass number up here is the protons and neutrons, and the atomic number, which is really important, is just the number of protons. All elements that have the same atomic number are the same element. So whatever number of protons you have makes you the same element, but if you change the neutrons, that is something called an isotope. And finally, question number 9, which is one of your big 5-mark questions. So these are the big mark questions in the exam, normally 5 or 6 marks. So aluminium is extracted. So the word extracted just means taken out of. So aluminium is extracted from its ore using electrolysis. Electrolysis is a process that just uses electricity. Iron is extracted from its ore using heating. This says with iron, but I think that should say carbon there, so we'll just scribble that out. Explain the advantage of recycling rather than extracting from the ore. So this is the main bit of the question. Explain the advantage of recycling rather than extracting. So when you recycle, it's better for the environment, but you can't just say that, you need detail. So you need to be talking about using less power, which is like less electricity, or causing less waste to the environment. So you could say less CO2, which is linked to the greenhouse effect. You could also say less damage to the habitats. So here are a few bullet points for you, and in the exam, you'll get marks for how well you put that together. So what we probably should have a quick look at is some exact exam questions that you guys are going to be up against. And let's just quickly go through some answers. So if you want to find this paper yourself, all you have to type in is Edexcel and then put the date in, Thursday the 17th of May 2018. And this is a foundation chemistry paper. So foundation tier GCSE chemistry. So looking at question 1. What do dots and cross represent in the diagram? So we've just said on our poster there are electrons. Give the formula for ammonia. So what's good about this is it's asking for the formula of ammonia, and there's a picture of ammonia up here. So all you have to do is count it. It's got 1 N, it's got H's, but it's got 1, 2, 3, and you just put the 3 after. This question here, state the meaning of that symbol. So remember, it means it goes in both directions because it's going to the left and to the right. So it means the reaction goes in both directions. Got a graph question here, which a lot of students struggle with. If we read the question, state what happens to the percentage yield. So the percentage yield is here when the temperature increases. So the temperature starts at 200 here and goes to 700. So as I move my hand from low to high, the line is actually going down. So what actually happens is the yield decreases. And it's only 1 mark, and you'll get a mark for that. So the next question, we have to find 450 on the graph, which is there. We need to use a ruler or be very careful and draw across. And then all we have to do is draw a line to read off the number here. Now what's difficult about this is each square is going to be worth 2. So it's 2, 4, 6. Answer is going to be 16. Ammonia reacts with nitric acid to form ammonium nitrate. Complete the word equation. So all you have to do here is start by writing the question out. But what they're actually saying that you know is that when you add ammonia to nitric acid, you change the words. That's going to be ammonium nitrate. So you change the ending of the words. And it actually gives it you in the question, so really easy one. This one here, NH4 positive plus NO3 minus, you basically just put them together. So it's going to be C. Why do farmers spread ammonium nitrate on their fields? This is to increase yield, and remember that's the special word that means amount. It also increases growth. Moving on to this question, this is a nice one because you just have to draw a line. So it says draw one line to link each particle to its correct relative charge. Electrons are negative, P for proton, P for positive, so that must mean neutrons have no charge. This is just another memory one. Which of the following is the relative mass of a proton? Remember, protons is just one. This one says use the periodic table. Now I can tell you off the top of my head it's magnesium, but we don't have a periodic table, so we'll miss that one out. But in your exam, you'd have the periodic table at the back. This question, I'm just going to write extension. This is easily the hardest question on the paper, and I don't want to tell you the answer, and I want you to go away and look at isotopes. If you're going to answer this question, you need to understand what a mass number is and what an atomic number is. Okay, but this is the stretch and challenge question on the exam. So if you do want to bring this question to me, I'd be happy to mark it in person. Moving on to question 5. State the meaning of this hazard symbol. So it looks like a flame, so I'm guessing it is flammable, which means it catches on fire. Give the names of the elements that are combined. So again, you need a periodic table to do this one, but that is barium, and sulfide is actually made of something called sulfur, which is yellow. Barium chloride is toxic. Name a precaution. So a precaution is something that you do to avoid the hazard. So if something is toxic, it means it can damage your health. So you must not breathe it in. So do not inhale or breathe in. If it's toxic and it gets on your skin, it causes damage. So we must wear gloves, or we could wear a mask or goggles. And finally, if we just move on to our big 6-mark question, explain the advantage of recycling aluminium and iron rather than extracting. You can write in bullet points for this if you want to. I would recommend you write in 4 sentences. So remember, it's all about the advantages of recycling rather than extracting. So it's because there is less pollution. You will not get any marks for writing pollution. You need to write more detail. So you have to say less CO2. And if there's less CO2, there's less greenhouse effect, because that is less pollution. But you can't just write that. You have to say more detail. You could say less resources or less power is needed. If you're not digging stuff up, you're not going to ruin the environment, so there's less damage. And the special word is habitat, because that's where the animals live. And there's lots more, but remember it's out of 6, so you want to be aiming for 4 or more points as a minimum.